pour into a weekly meeting that was established in your area. You would bring your guests to that weekly meeting. You would pour into weekly training events that took place. You would go to regional events. And you would pour all that activity into what we now call Elevate. And that was our cadence. And I can tell you that every big leader in all of ACN has built their business from these large events to other large events. Which means they had more people at the next event than they had at the current one. And that's how they built their business. They just became great inviters. And look at what's happened to them. And so I came here tonight not to pump you up about ACN. Is that okay? Are you guys excited enough? Yeah. Like I'm about to burst. And I've been doing this for 30 years. Are you excited enough? Yeah. So can I just spend the rest of my time, and I'm not going to take up a long period of time because I know you got a lot to cover. But can I spend the rest of my time just talking to you? Like you were in my office and we're sitting at my chairs and we're just having a conversation. Is that okay? Absolutely. Because I want you to know, though how many of you are brand new? This is your very first time. Okay, that's good. So there's a lot of brand new people in the room, and I really want to talk to you, but I also want to talk to some of the veterans. But for the brand new people, I want to tell you that as excited as you are about ACN, you really don't know what you don't know. You really don't. We tried to give it to you over the last couple of days, and I think that we delivered in a big way. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
But there's so much more depth to ACN than you could ever grasp in a 2-day window of time. I'm telling you, this is a very, very, very special organization. It's a special company. And we have such a pure system. The system says that the only way that we win is if you win. Isn't that something? The only way that we make money is if we show you how to make money. The only way that we generate revenue is to show you how to build a company within a company to go out and acquire customers that are going to pay the bills on services they're using anyway. And you get residual income for the life of that customer as they pay their bills. Is that a pretty good system?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if the formula is the only way that we win is if you win, why would I come here after a long day of training and talk to you and tell you things that won't work? That would be like putting dynamite in an oil well. That would be the craziest thing in the world. So the first thing I want the brand new people to know is, I came here to tell you things that are going to be in your best benefit. Because you don't know me very well, you're just trying to figure all this out. And I want you to know firsthand, the veterans know, the leaders know, that Greg Provenzano will never tell you anything that Greg Provenzano does not believe in, because it's not worth it to me. So I want you to know, I'm going to tell you things that are going to be in your best interest. Is that fair? So I want to tell you how to win. I want to tell you how to build. I want to tell you what is the secret for you. How many of you want to become a senior vice president someday? Right? You didn't come here just to be mediocre, right? You came here to do something great. See, listen, I know how bad some of you need ACN. I know how badly some of you want ACN to work. Some of you are here and you said, you know what, God, I'm going to Fort Lauderdale and this is going to be my last pursuit of something. Something has to happen in my life this weekend. Some of you are at that space. The reason why I know how bad you need ACN is because for years I sat in those chairs that you're now sitting in, hoping and praying that some breakthrough would happen for me and my family. And it took me years to figure it out. I grew up in the inner city of Detroit. I didn't have any mentorship. The first time I picked up a self-help book, I was 22 years old. I didn't even know what it was. But I knew that once I saw it, just like some of you saw it for the very first time, that you said to yourself, man, this is my ticket. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Because I made a promise to myself that I was never going to go back to the lifestyle that I grew up in. And some of you have to make that very same commitment. Maybe some of you didn't grow up in an environment that I did. But some of you may have to look yourselves in the mirror and say, you know what, I've quit on everything else. I'm not quitting this. I'm going to see this thing through. I'm going to build something great. I'm going to make my mark. I'm going to do the things that I thought that I was going to do when I was younger and made those early on commitments that haven't worked out so well. Can we all make that commitment first and foremost?
Yeah.
See, the first commitment you have to make is that you're going to be here 5 years from now. If you can't make that commitment, if you said to yourself, I'm going to try this ACN thing out, and if it works, then great. If it doesn't work, I can always go back to doing what I'm doing. I'm here to tell you tonight, you will always go back to doing what you're doing. Unless you make a full-out commitment. I'm not telling you to quit your jobs. It's the last thing in the world I would like for you to do. What I'm telling you to do is make a commitment that you're going to see something through, maybe for the first time in your lives. Is that fair? So how many of you can commit that you're going to be here 5 years from now?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Here's the second thing. We have such a tremendous track for you to run on. Like, it's amazing. In fact, it's second to none. And I know just about every company out there. I know what they do. I know their CEOs. We're a tight-knit group. I'm telling you, the ACN environment is unique. It's very unique. We are people-oriented. We are others-focused and not just company-focused. The leaders will tell you that. See, you would expect me just to say that, but I'm telling you the way that we operate. I think it's important for you to know. And because you're in such a unique environment, I want you to take full advantage of the environment that you've been given. See, these last 2 days, look, I don't know what these last 2 days for you. I would think that they were over the top. Right? You can't script what took place over the last 2 days at our event. Right? You can't fake this stuff. These are real people with real stories, with real experiences. Listen, it would be different if nobody was making money at ACN. Then I gotta promote something that isn't the way it is. It'd be different if nobody was getting promoted, but you saw validation all weekend long from people from every walk of life. So if it can happen for them, can it happen for you? Yes. You just got to do what the compensation plan is telling you to do. What does the compensation plan tell you to do? Talk to people. It blows me away on how some people, they sign an application for $199 and don't talk to people and they expect to make money. They think this is get rich quick, pie in the sky. And it's such a job. Look, I don't know about you, but I'm not wasting $199. I don't know how some people do it, but they do. I'm here to tell you that the timing and the positioning is perfect right now for every single one of you. We told you about the CNBC article that just came out, where almost 70% of Americans are in need of more discretionary income and to combat inflation. Any of you guys go to the grocery store? I happen to be one of these guys that loves going to the grocery store. I get angry now going to the grocery store. It's crazy. I don't know how people with average incomes are doing it with kids. Right? They got to be so stressed out about where's this going to end. Well, ACN can be that light in a dark world. But they need to hear it from somebody, and that can be you. So that's the second commitment that you have to make, is to talk to people. The third commitment you have to make is just follow the track that we have laid out for you. Now, what is that track? The track is very simple. PBZs, weekly trainings, weekly PBRs, going to emerge events, going to elevate events. Listen, if every big leader that you know of, the Major Group, by the way, the #1 team in all of ACN. Not just North America, all of ACN. You talk about leaders from Mike and Pat on down, and all the RVPs are in the room. I have so much respect for every single one of them because they continue to lead from the front. They will never ask you to do something that they're not willing to do. You can't ask for anything more than that, right? So you think about the timing that we have, the leadership that you have to follow. They have built their business just like I'm going to describe to you right now. Here's the way it went. They did all those preliminary things working up to coming to an Elevate event. That's how they built. And so if that's the way that they built their company within a company, don't you think that you should do the same? Why? Because the only way that they make money is if you make money. The only way we make money is if everybody makes money. Right? So we continue to provide the environment. All that you have to do is invite people into the environment and let the environment build your business. You are now employing us to build your business. Is that okay? That's the way it works. So what would I do if I were you? Before I answer that question, I got to tell you something. If you don't do what I'm about to tell you, then don't come crying to me that ACN doesn't work. ACN works if you work. If I see you 6 months from now and you say, Greg, I just don't know about this ACN thing, man. I was excited when I went to Fort Lauderdale, but it's 5 months into it, and you're doing a conference call for us, and maybe we're having a Q&A and we're having a conversation, and you're saying ACN doesn't work. I'm going to look you in the eye and say, you know what? You don't work. I told you it'd be different if nobody was making money. It'd be different if nobody was getting promoted, but that's not the case. People that are working get results. Those results turn into promotions. Those results turn into income. Does that make sense to you? So what would I do if I were you? Here's what I would do. Is number one, I will definitely go back home a lot bigger than I ever came. That my vision will be bigger. And I'm going to internalize everything that I heard over the last 2 days. So this is just going to be a bunch of excitement. You know, there's a lot of validation that took place. Everybody's excited about people getting promoted. But you know what? Unless you go back home and do something more or different than when you came, the next 5 years, you're going to be no different than the last 5. True or not true? So I would go back home and I would be a lot bigger than you are today. Be more excited than when you came. Have more conviction than when you came. Be more non-negotiable now than when you came. So if somebody says no to you, great, it doesn't matter. It's like water off a duck's back. Somebody says yes, wonderful, let's run. Does that make sense to you? Absolutely. That's the first thing that I would do. The second thing that I would do is I would make sure that every single day between now and March the 10th, when we're all going to be in Fort Worth, Texas. How many of you are going to be there? How many of you want to become an SVP? How many of you are going to be in Fort Worth, Texas? Don't tell me you want to be an SVP and don't show up to Fort Worth, Texas. Then go to Fort Worth, Texas with a bunch of people, man. Drive a bus. But what I would do if I were you is I would have more people coming to Fort Worth, Texas, March the 10th tomorrow than I did today. I would have more people coming the next day than I did tomorrow. Every single day should be a business building day for you. Does that make sense? So let me ask you a question. If I said you can show up to Fort Worth at the event with 100 people, would you believe me? Yes. You got 6 months. If I showed you or told you that you can show up to the Fort Worth event with 200 people, would you believe me?
Yes.
Would you believe me if I said 300?
Yes.
See, I know some of you are shaking your heads no because you're here in Fort Lauderdale and you're brand new. You're just started. You have nobody here. And you're thinking to myself, how can I even have 100 people to Fort Worth? How many of you feel that way, honestly? Yeah, I get it. I understand it. But let me tell you what you need, how you need to think. Can you find 10 people within the next 5.5 months that could bring 10 people to Fort Worth? You know what that means? You have 100 of your people in Fort Worth. Can you find 20 people to bring 10 people in 5.5 months? How many do you have now? 200 people in Fort Worth. So just listen. I just want you to internalize this. This is really important, okay? I want you to envision yourself in Fort Worth, Texas, March the 10th. And you have 200 people in your organization at that event. And by the end of that event, those 200 people feel the exact same way that you do right now. Where would your business be by the second quarter of 2023 if that were the case? Where would your business be by the end of 2023 if you set that in motion starting when you get home? See, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a 40-year plan here. I'm telling you, if you give ACN 5 good years of what I'm talking about, your life could be changed forever. How many of you would love to financially be able to help your parents right now, but you just can't do it? How many of you would love to be in a position to help your church building program? If they say they need $100,000, you can just stroke a check like it's nothing. Wouldn't you love to spend time with the people that you know and love without having to check your calendar or be responsible to be somewhere on Monday morning?
Absolutely.
See, we're fighting for more than money, folks. This is a fight for freedom. And I don't know about you, but growing up in the inner city of Detroit, nobody ever talked to me the way I'm talking to you right now. I'm telling you, ACN is your vehicle. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what your belief system is. The computer will promote you. So don't go blaming me if it isn't working for you. Don't go blaming anybody else about your lack of education. Don't go blaming anybody else because nobody ever gave you an opportunity. I'm going to end with this. Never again can any of you be honest and open with anyone that you know and love that you're having a conversation with and say these words. I never had a chance. You can never, after this weekend and tonight, you can never honestly make that statement. No longer can you blame. Now you got to look in the mirror. And for some people, that's extremely tough to do. To take full responsibility for your lot in life. You know what I learned a long time ago? When you're young, you're a victim of your circumstances. You can't do anything with the cards that you've been dealt when you were young.
Come on.
Right? I grew up in the inner city of Detroit. That's what I had to deal with. Some of you grew up in situations. That's what you had to deal with. But as an adult, listen.
Come on.
You're no longer a victim of your circumstance. You're a victim of your decisions and your disciplines. So the question is, what are you going to do with what you've been given? And where are you going to be 5 years from now? I hope and pray that you're well on your way to becoming a senior vice president, as most of you have raised your hands for. Is that a deal? Yes. All right. It's been great spending time with you. God bless.